Our work involves strategic planning, leadership development, program evaluations, organizational restructuring, recruitment strategizing, diversity and inclusion, needs assessments, asset mapping, and survey research and reports. Our vision is simply to analyze problems and create awareness. To that end, we seek to explore the social issues that confront our world and find ways to make us all better custodians of the world that we were blessed with. This is my life's cause, and I hope that this is evident from Ruminations blog, the podcast Ruminations with Ohiro Oni-Eseleh, our international conferences that we host, our social media interviews and webinars, such as the one that brings us all here today. None of this is possible without the participation and encouragement of others like all of you who have joined us here today from across the United States, Canada, Nigeria, and Ghana, as well as the United Kingdom. I thank you all for being here today. My guests are three young, dynamic women, Miss Oluyemi Orija, Miss Itunuoluwa Awolu, and Hairat Suleiman. They are all attorneys who make up the legal team of the Headfort Foundation, a nonprofit group of attorneys that was founded in 2018 as the nonprofit legal arm of the Headfort Chambers that was founded in 2015 by one of these three attorneys. I suspect that several of today's participants have read a recently published profile of these three attorneys in an Al Jazeera feature titled "The All-Women Law Firm Helping Prisoners Get Justice in Nigeria." In a March 2020 profile of these same women, The Guardian reported that in just 1.5 years of existence, they had already succeeded in securing the release of over 100 wrongly convicted inmates from Nigerian prisons. That number is now over 120. Based primarily in Lagos, their goal is to extend their work to other parts of Nigeria because they recognize the extent of injustice that is present in Nigeria's judicial system. Today, I am curious to learn how and why leaders and citizens of a country as rich and as supposedly religious and humane as Nigeria is, go to sleep at night knowing that there are 4,000 people in prisons built for 800 inmates, and knowing that 1,065 inmates share one cell. How is it that people stay in jail for years without trial? And how is it that laws that are made to protect free and arrested citizens in the judicial system are not implemented? I think I need to state that this is not about criticizing Nigeria. I was born and raised in Nigeria, and it's a country that I love. This is about finding solutions to problems. But I am curious to know what all of us as individuals and as a collective can and should do to enhance recognition and respect of the humanity of those that are the least among us. To achieve this aim and to respond to the curiosity of everyone, our first speaker this day, Ms. Oluyemi Orija, will give us an overview of the work of Headfort Foundation, and she'll be followed by Ms. Itunuoluwa Awolu, who will discuss the operations of the foundation, and then Ms. Hairat Suleiman, who will share with us the rewards and challenges of the work that they do. Following the final presentation, there will be a few minutes Q&A session, and then a more extended Q&A session after the last presentation. As they present, I urge our participants to list their questions in the Q&A box in the bottom of your screen. I also encourage our participants to engage actively in the chat room through the duration of this webinar. I thank you all for coming. And our first speaker today, our first presenter will be Oluyemi Orija, who is a lawyer, an entrepreneur, and a human rights activist in Lagos, Nigeria. She graduated from Ekiti State University before proceeding to the Nigerian Law School in Lagos. She worked as an attorney in 4 law firms before setting up her private practice named Headfort Chambers in 2015. She is the managing partner of Headfort Chambers, which is a corporate and commercial law firm. In 2018, Ms. Orija added a corporate social responsibility initiative to Headfort Chambers, which involves the firm's employees visiting the prison system and providing pro bono representation to indigent inmates and victims of police brutality. In 2019, she recognized that the CSR initiative had become much bigger in scope than the focus of the for-profit aspect of her law firm. It was that recognition and the necessary restructuring that led to the formation of the Headfort Foundation. In March 2019, because of what she had just recognized and what she had been thinking about, Oluyemi Orija founded Headfort Foundation, which as of today has, as I said, secured the release of over 120 wrongfully convicted or held prison inmates in Lagos. The foundation has now unveiled its sensitization, advocacy, and empowerment program, which synthesizes students of senior secondary schools in Nigeria on the realities and aspects of police brutality, and teaches them about their human and legal rights, as well as the consequences of crime and punishment. The Headfort Foundation now has 15 lawyers all serving as volunteers, and they represent inmates in courts across Lagos, Nigeria. It is their goal to spread their work across the vast landscape of the country. I should add that Oluyemi's husband, Oluwaseun Orija, and their adorable son are watching this today from Lagos, Nigeria. Ms. Orija, please tell us about your work. Ms. Orija, please tell us what you do.
Okay. Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us from all across the world. My name is Oluyemi Orija, like Professor had rightly said, and I'm delighted to be here this afternoon. Straight into the presentation. Headfort Foundation is a passion, and it was born out of passion to fix a gap that is in existence in Nigerian justice system. I've been a lawyer for almost a decade, and every day of my life, I go to court, Nigerian courts, and I see people being brought to court for very flimsy charges, as flimsy as somebody stealing something less than $1. I mean, things to survive, right? Like food items. We're talking about sausage rolls, you know, and they're being charged for these things. They are in court, they're in prison rather, with no legal representation. And they are in prison for so long. So because of the way I started my practice, working with law firms in Nigeria, I have contracts whereby I'm not able to represent these people even when I witness those things in court. So I told myself, whenever I have the capacity to start a law practice, I'm going to incorporate this into our scope, which is going to prison and representing indigent and innocent inmates in prison. It's unfortunate that in Nigeria, anybody can be a victim. Anybody can find him or herself in prison for whatever reason. It might be as flimsy as the way you're dressed, or the way you interact with a police officer, or anything can just land you in prison. And it's been on and on like that. So fortunately for us, in 2018, we introduced this CSR into our chambers, and it has manifested and grown into Headfort Foundation. Headfort Foundation, as of today, has helped 121 persons out of prison, and it's a thing of joy for me to see these people come back, because we always ensure that it's not just about getting them out of prison. We also follow up on their lives. We want to see that they are better people, even though they've been to prison. We have, in our organization, we have people who are counselors, who counsel them and let them know that being in prison for whatever reason is not a reason for you to be a failure in life. So we are interested in their growth. We are interested in them being a better version of themselves. And it's not been easy for us in any way. It's just something we're passionate about. And luckily, thankfully, we have good team. We have good team here. I mean, my two sisters here and a lot of our employees that are not here now, they've been passionate about the job. They've been passionate about it. They've given all their best to ensure that we are where we are right now. I mean, the Al Jazeera interview came in early this year. You know, they came in, they saw the way what we've been doing. They follow us to court and see the presenters followed us to court, saw the things we experience in court, where you leave your house as early as possible in the morning as a legal practitioner to represent somebody without being paid. You get to court and realize that the court isn't sitting, and the whole day is wasted. Nobody gives you a text message or something to tell you that the court is not going to be sitting, but you're all there to yourself. You know, there are lots of challenges we are definitely going to talk about in the course of this presentation that we face as an organization. Thankfully, I keep saying, you know, at the end of the day, we can't achieve what we achieve without the help of our team. They believe in the vision. They believe in the vision of the foundation. They're interested in where we have to go, because the truth is our vision is not just to be residing in Lagos alone. There are 36 states in Nigeria, and these 36 states needs our service. Prisons all over Nigeria is overly congested. Right now in Nigeria, in Lagos, for instance, there's a prison close to us right now, Ikoyi prison. Ikoyi prison was built for 800 persons, inmates, but it's currently, I'm sure before the lockdown, before the COVID-19 and all that, it was about 3,000 people in prison. But during the lockdown and right now, lots of people are being arrested from probably not using nose mask and other things, and they take them to prison. They're remanded in prison, and the courts are not sitting, right? Right now, courts are not sitting. We can't represent anybody in court. So there are a lot of things. So at the end of the day, when this whole thing is lifted and courts start sitting, I'm sure that we have multiple people, multiple the number we had, right, before the coronavirus in prison. So we have lots of work ahead of us after the coronavirus lockdown here in Lagos. So I'm sure there's a lot of things, a lot of work ahead of us that we have to do. We have good team, but we can do better. We have good team, but we need more hands to join us in the work as well. So which we consistently do through our social media platforms. We sensitize people on their fundamental human rights, because at the end of the day, people in prison are there. For some, it's lack of ignorance, because most people really don't know their rights in Nigeria, and most of these people are illiterate as well. Even the literates don't know their rights. Just yesterday, I got a call, and somebody was telling me that a policeman shoved him into the police van and tagged him an online fraud. You know, tagged him an online fraud, and because of that, they took 100,000 naira away from him. The police extorted him, and these are everyday reality over here. So we need people to ensure if there are no people to do these things, we continue like that. You know, police do these things and they go scot-free with it. And this person I'm talking about is even learned, not an illiterate. So every day we have issues like this, and we need organizations like ours to be on board to ensure that these things are caught, to ensure that we bring these policemen or police officers to book, to ensure that people just do not suffer. And I have a very dear story that I would like to share. And that story happened the very first time we started this project in 2018. The set of about 10 people's case we took, there is a particular guy amongst them. His name is Shegun. Unfortunately, Shegun is late. I got the news last night that he's dead. He died in prison, and he was innocent of the crime that he was charged. Shegun is a young man that was trying his best, right, to survive in Lagos here. I met this guy, and he told me that he was charged for stealing a motorcycle. That motorcycle was actually gotten on hire purchase. He didn't steal. But the police, because he had no money to bribe the police, he was charged to court. He got to court and he was remanded immediately because he pleaded guilty. This guy does not understand what pleading guilty is, right? He doesn't understand it. And he was convicted and sentenced without a legal practitioner, without legal representation. I met him in prison. He told me, and I wanted to appeal his case, but we couldn't get enough resources. We applied to court to ensure that we could get information to appeal his case. I have a copy of the letter I wrote to court, and that letter was never responded to till date. That guy had kidney issue in prison. He called me early this year to tell me that I should please write to the prison so that they can allow him take medical treatment outside the prison. I wrote to the prison told us to go back to court. We got to court, we wrote to court, nobody listened to us. Yesterday, I got the news that this guy is late. So those are the issues. People are in prison, people die in prison in Nigeria with nobody attending to them. So is that bad? But you know, at the end of the day, I'm glad that as an organization, we are able to impact in people's life. We are able to get freedom for people, and we hope to do more. So I'd like to stop here for now.
I have a question from you. It is from a journalist in Nigeria. The question is, have you been persecuted yet by law enforcement in Nigeria for the work that you do?
Have I been personally?
Your organization or you, have you been persecuted by Nigerian law enforcement? Okay.
No.
And I have another question, and this one is from Edmonton, Canada. It says, how are you able to finance your operations, especially because you operate as pro bono?
Yeah, that's a big challenge which we are going to definitely talk about. I believe Hairat is going to explain more, but let me just say a little about it. Presently, we have nobody anywhere funding us. Like I rightly explained, and when you read my profile, you said that we have a law firm which is for profit. So what we do is that the monies we get from that organization, Headfort Chambers, has been what has been sustaining us with this pro bono work we do. And the matter of fact, it then means that if our foundation, if our chambers is not surviving, this cannot survive as well. So everything we do now, except for a few individual people that value what we do here in Nigeria, sometimes, you know, they just donate to us 50,000, 20,000 naira to augment what we have. So that has been the way we've been sustaining all along. It's been tough. It's been really tough.
Right, and there are, of course, many prayers for you. This is from the UK. Yeah, this is
that's
from the
compensation, UK. Right? That's the compensation.
Right. So, yeah, one from the United Kingdom that says, well done for what you do. And how are you collaborating with the National Human Rights Commission, which is the body responsible for the promotion and protection of human rights in Nigeria? That's from the UK.
Yes, you know, one thing in Nigeria, I'm sorry to say this, but I have to. In Nigeria, to get to that level, You need stepping stones. You need people. You need to know people. We've written, we've done online approach to these organizations, but we haven't gotten any yes from anybody. So we got tired at some point. We got tired of writing. We got tired of making contact because there was a time we listed the organizations responsible for these things. Even what's this organization now? MacArthur Foundation. We wrote them out. We wrote to them, but till now we've not gotten a yes from anyone.
Okay. I have another question. This is from Toronto, Canada. Given the enormity and pervasiveness of, quote, awaiting trial detentions in Nigeria, how do you balance your regular for-profit legal business and your CSR pro bono services?
This is a tough one because, some days, like some weeks, you are all about the foundation, you are all about the non-profit, and you're forgetting. But thankfully, I have a good husband, and he keeps telling me, without your chambers, which is the for-profit purpose, this foundation cannot survive. So you have to concentrate more on the chambers to get money to be able to fund these other parts. So he's been putting me to check. It's not been easy, and I'm kind of too passionate about the non-profit sometimes. But thankfully, we have a good operations manager here as well. Ituno has been fantastic. She owed things down for us, so we still ensure to get a balance. It's not easy. That's the fact. It's not easy, but we are putting through. We are putting through.
Right. I have a question. This is also from the UK. Great work that you're doing. What sort of help can we give to help you carry on this laudable work?
First of all, it's straightforward. We need a lot of support, importantly on funding, because there are some months that it's even hard to pay salaries for our paralegals and our staff as well. It's so hard. Like, I have sleepless nights to make sure that we're able to pay salaries, we're able to pay for our office rent, we're able to even work comfortably around the office. That's one. And also to be able to help people, we need money. So it's fund. We need a lot of support in the area of funding and the area of policy change, because there are lots of laws in Nigeria that restrict our work as well, right? There are a lot of laws in place and that's why we are unveiling our advocacy department of the non-profit, because there are a lot of laws here in Nigeria that is in existence when it comes to justice system. You can imagine, how can anybody ever arraign someone without a legal representation? To me, it's very unfair, especially for people that are not literate, that doesn't understand what is happening at the court terrain. Some people have never been to a court in their life, and imagine bringing them to court. So there are lots. So we need support in the area of policy change, and to change any policy here in Nigeria, we can't do it alone. We need other organizations to collaborate with us so that our voice can be louder for the appropriate authority to hear us and do the needful. Then in the area of funding, we need people to come help us in this area, because it's really, really overwhelming.
Right. Let me say that just last night, I sort of thought that this kind of question will come. So I did create on your behalf a GoFundMe account, and I made the first donation to that account this morning just before coming on, because I wasn't going to be asking my friends to do something that I wouldn't do. So I will share that account, and everybody will receive the information as soon as this show is over. So I have two things to say, and then we'll move on quickly to Itunuoluwa. One is a question from Nigeria. I think you've already addressed it, because he wants to remind you that what you are doing is a risky job in Nigeria. And he was interested in knowing, or he is interested in knowing, if there have been any threats to your life. And you can combine that with the other question from the United States. I think you answered that, you said no. The question from the United States before we move on is, what inspires you to render pro bono legal services for the good of the community that might otherwise not be available? Why do you do this work?
Okay, I said that in the beginning. It's terrible when because as I grew up in a from a humble background. My father is a civil servant, and he strives so hard. He tried so hard to ensure that I have the best education he could afford. So, and it was achieved in my local community in Ekiti State. So I have seen over time where people bring cases to him, like things happen in my local environment, people bring cases for him to oversee, and he gives judgment on that. And he was appointed as a JP, that's Justice of Peace, at some point in his life as well. So I've seen that, I've seen a firsthand of that. That gave me the interest to study law in the first place. So I studied law, and my first appearance in court, I saw things happen, like things that I never envisaged, right? So I never imagined that anybody could be in prison for 1 year because he spoiled somebody's generator. I never envisaged it in my life. And I see these things, I move closer to them, I realized that they were not crying, right? And these people continue to be there without help sometimes. And one thing in Nigeria is we all have the mentality that the moment you land in prison, you're a bad person or you're a criminal. And this is the narrative we've been trying to change, that anybody can be a victim of these things, right? So when I see stuff like that, I naturally feel responsible for these people. I feel the obligation to be able to help, because I believe I have the skill, being a lawyer, I have the skill to help. So most times I've started working before, even in our for-profit purposes, sometimes I've started working before asking for money. So the money is not the thing driving me. I'm more interested in justice being done, right? So it's been a challenge. I'm trying to work on the business side of me. I think my passion is carrying me too much than the business mind. So, but thank God for a good husband. I keep saying he's been putting a checks on me on this area. So those are the things driving me and giving me the inspiration to go on. And when we're done doing those jobs, when they call, I start praying for you in the middle of the night, and somebody's aged mother in one village call you to say, you helped my son out of prison. Those things you can't quantify it. I mean, the feeling is heavenly.
No, thank you very much. I did say that you're the managing partner of the chambers, and this is actually your baby. Right, you founded the chambers and founded also the Headfort Foundation. But our next presenter is Itunuoluwa Awolu. She is also a legal practitioner and human rights activist in Nigeria. And I think that I did describe Itunuoluwa as really shy. And I was reminded, and I think I was reminded that in the courtroom, Itunuoluwa, I was told that in the courtroom, you are actually like very tough, but she was born in southwestern Nigeria and graduated also from Ekiti State University in Ado-Ekiti, Nigeria, before proceeding to the Nigerian Law School in Enugu. Itunuoluwa's expertise is in criminal and commercial law, and she's currently a counsel, as well as the operations manager of the Headfort Foundation, where she's responsible for the execution of the organization's projects and programs. Itunuoluwa has personally secured the freedom of 35 inmates pro bono in the course of her work with Headfort Foundation. She was also recently certified by the United States State Department as a member of the prestigious Young African Leaders Initiative Network. Itunuoluwa, please talk to us about your questions.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate this opportunity. So when it comes to operations for Headfort Foundation, we have 3 main sections. So we have the prison visitation, we have the court representation, and then we have our sensitization program. So what we do is we set out a day for us to go to prison, because when you go to prison, you can't come back and do any other thing. At the end of the day, you get so emotional about the things you hear, like when you sit with the inmates and then they tell you their stories. When we get back, we just have to sit down and talk about something else. You can't actually work for that day. So that day is gone. So we usually set out a particular day for us to go to prison. So we have a form set out for the inmates. So we go with those forms. When they tell us their stories, we consider whether this particular case is one that fits into what we do at Headfort Foundation. So if it is, we'll take their information, their personal informations, the information relating to their matter in court. We get all those details, and then they sign, they attest it. We explain to them, because most of them are illiterate. They don't really understand some of these things. So we try as much as possible to explain to them, and we ensure that they give their consent for us to represent them. So when we do this, when we get back to the office, we now make a roster, and then we distribute the cases. So whoever is given a particular case, we go to the court. Now, when you get to the court, you have to first of all check the court list to be sure that that particular case is on that court list, because we've seen situations whereby when we get to court, the particular court number given to us by the inmate is not the actual court number. And then there are times whereby what they are being charged for is not what they even tell us. Now, when we get to court, we find out that they are being charged for something different, and then they actually give us a different brief. So if you have so much time, and then you are fortunate enough for them to be in the prison, to be in the court cell at that particular time, the counsel is supposed to go and see the inmates and then ask further information to help you when the matter is actually being called up. So in the situation whereby you find out that the matter is not on the court list, you have to go and see the registrar to ensure that to find out why the matter is not on the court list. So if it is not in that particular court, you have to go back to another court and make your search. If not, you have to move on to the next case and then try to see the inmates later on. So we usually see them through. We keep representing them up to the point where we are able to secure their release. In some situations, it's usually faster, because most times they are being charged for flimsy, the charges are always very flimsy, and the prosecutors don't even have any case against them. So we try our possible best to get them out as soon as possible. And there are some instances where they take longer than we envisage, but most times we stay with them all through their cases in court. So when we are done with securing their release, we try to get their, we give them our cards and then tell them to call us when they get home, so that we can follow up. We don't just leave them to just be on their own. So when they get in touch with us, we try to talk to some of their family members too. Yeah, when we get to court, from the forms that they fill, we have a spot that for them to fill their contact relations, any relative that we can actually talk to. So in the course of going to court representing them, we try to ensure that their family members also come. Whosoever is close, we try as much as possible to ensure that we keep calling the family members, so that someone is actually there with them, so that they don't just neglect them. We have situations where families feel, I don't have any business with you, I don't want to have anything to do with you. So we try to persuade them. Is another thing, talking to the family members and to ensure that they actually come forward and appear in court, so that at least the inmates too, we have they will feel loved when they see their family members in court with them. So and then when their freedom is finally secured, we try to also get in touch with the family members to ask about how they are faring, to ensure that they are doing fine at home. We also try to talk to them on the phone. Then for sensitization also, we go to secondary schools. We have approval to go to secondary schools here in Lagos. We talk to those that are in SS3, that their final year in high school. We encourage them and we sensitize them on their fundamental human rights, the consequences of crime, and the police brutality, because we believe once you have a secondary school, you are going into the world. And that's the stage when you start having this feeling of, oh, I'm an adult, I'm not a man. You now start making decisions on your own. So we try as much as possible to sensitize them and put them in the right frame of mind to understand what life is. Like this feeling of you're not an adult is not just something you joke with, so that they will understand that police brutality is something that occurs day in, day out. And they will also understand their fundamental human rights, because it is not everyone, like she rightly says, it's not everyone that is literate that actually understands what their rights are. So that is for our sensitization. And fortunately, right now we have we want to work more on rehabilitation of the inmates, because we've come to realize that calling them or calling the family members is not enough. We have to have an avenue whereby we can actually sit them down, get a counselor to talk to them, like a therapy session, talk to them, understand what they are going through outside. You know, when you call someone on the phone, it's easier for the person to deceive you and tell you, oh, I'm doing fine, everything is going on fine. But when you actually see the person and you ask them certain questions, you will understand their state of mind. So we are working on that right now. We're working on having a rehabilitation program for the ex-inmates, so that when they go out there, they don't just get all this negative influence that they are coming with out of prison. It doesn't affect them. We want to be sure that they are actually fine. They are not just telling us that they are fine and that they are actually in the right path. They are not letting what they have gone through get to them. Thank you very much.
I have a question for you.
Okay,
And
sir.
this question is from, I believe, the United States. It says, is there any hope that the federal government will recognize what you are doing and provide you some assistance?
We can only pray. We can only pray that we get to that. But that is something that seems unattainable, so to say. Because the federal government will tell you they have a lot of problem on their hands. They have national problem that they are dealing with, and you are talking about prison inmates. Nobody really. It's hard for you to get people that will actually care about these people. That's just the problem. It is really hard. So now you're telling the government that the officials that actually got them, they are government officials. Now you're not telling them to come and help you. It's like dreaming. You can't even dream itself. So I'm not sure.
Yeah, actually, in regard to that, there were people who knew that you were going to be our guests today. And so from one of them, I received a lot of documents, legal documents from Nigeria that actually indicated that Nigerian prisoners have several rights, and what you are telling us today is that those rights are constantly violated. It's as if they do not have any rights. But I think that this question is for you, Itunuoluwa. It says, where do you get your referrals from?
Referrals.
Yes, or is it by word of mouth? How do you know that people have these problems that you're going to try to address?
Okay, that's why I said we usually go for prison visitations. So most of our cases are cases that we got from prison. So we go there. We don't just want people to just give us stories from outside. We actually want to sit with them and hear directly from them. Because we've had instances where people will just call you and tell you, oh, I have this person, he has this problem. And at the end of the day, you realize that these cases are the people that actually committed these offenses. So we actually go to prison to ensure that the people that we want to represent, because we can't be asking people for money and then we are using it for people that actually committed grievous offenses like murder, rape. We don't take those cases. So we go to prison so that we'll stream it down to cases of those that are innocent and those that are indigent minor offenders, those that committed offenses that should have been overlooked, offenses that community service could have sufficed for, that they don't even have any business being there at all. So usually we go for prison visitation, and then sometimes when we go to court, and then we go to the cell to see some of the inmates that we are representing. When some of them come up to us and start begging us, "Auntie, please help me. This is my problem. And then sometimes we try to listen to them. And then when whosoever is involved, you come back to the office and you inform our managing partner. Now, if she says, fine, you can take this case, then you're allowed to take it. So
right.
That's just.
I also have two questions in one, and this is the last that I will ask of you before we move on. It says, have you at any time encountered some pushback from the system? For example, have you tried to help someone and the prison system and the police authorities really opposed what you are trying to do? And the second question from the same person is, have you received any word of encouragement from anyone in position of authority in Nigeria?
Okay, so for the first part, we face, Hairat is going to talk about the challenges that we face. But I think the one that I've actually experienced is even sometimes from the family members. You get to court, and then some family members will tell you, probably they will look at you and say, oh, this small girl is the one that wants to come and represent us. No, I'll call a family, we have a family lawyer. Now, this family members are the ones that have neglected this person for over a year. This person has been in prison, and we actually call you that, okay, we want to come into this matter, we want to take this for, and then you come and then you say, oh, it's a small girl, let me help you call somebody. And then after that day, they just go off. This same inmate will have to call you back and say, auntie, you just left the other day, I'm still here, nobody is helping me. So this kind of things makes us feel really bad, because it's actually bad when you wake up very early to beat the traffic and get to court to represent someone, and then some people will say, oh, I'm the friend of this, of the father or the grandfather, and then at the end of the day they don't do anything, because once they leave that particular spot, that is the end. They don't even go to visit these same inmates, and then when we now come in to help them, they stand as stumbling block and even make us feel bad for what we do. So sometimes it's difficult even getting into the prison, because you have to write letter to them. It is when they approve the letter that you can actually go for us to even take the cases. So sometimes the warders will look at you and say, oh, yeah, the ones that want to come and represent these people. You are the one that is giving them hope. So it's not as if they really appreciate what we are doing, but when they see the fact that we really mean business, and that today we have to do what we have come here to do, at the end of the day, they actually let us go in and actually see them and do what we have to do. Then for the other parts, for words of encouragement from no, but we have good meaning Nigerians, like people that are close contacts, or within our network, people that have seen what we do on social media. They read about us, they hear about us from someone, and then they actually appreciate. Some send us prayers. There are people that actually, but when it comes about people in authority, I think they have bigger problems than looking at us here.
I have a question that I cannot really let go. And it's very important to you as the operations manager. I'm sorry, I did say that that was going to be the last question to you.
No problem.
And then this just popped up. And the question is, do you follow the prisoners after they are released from prison? In other words, does your work or your relationship with them end the moment they are released?
No, it doesn't. It doesn't end there. We keep in contact, we keep in touch with them. We even try talking to some family members. That is for those that actually have family members that are actually interested and actually appreciate what we do. We've seen family members that actually appreciate what we do, and they call and pray for us. So we keep in touch with them, and we try as much as possible to call them once in a while, to just be sure that they are on the right path. They are not on the verge of committing another crime. And like I rightly said, we also have a rehabilitation program that we are hoping that soon enough we will be able to implement it. Now, we have volunteers, and among the volunteers, we have social workers, people that can work as counselors, people that can hold therapy sessions for them. So we are hoping that when we implement the program, we'll fix a period, probably once in a week, twice in a week, or twice in a month, depending on what we have on ground, depending on our funding and how much we can put into it. So we call them together, they will sit, and then we have someone actually talk to them, hear from them. So we don't just leave them. Our work doesn't just end from releasing them from prison.
Right. My job was really just to facilitate this, but I see that someone has asked me a question, and the question is, how do we reconcile the injustices that your panelists talk about in Nigeria and similar injustices in less homogeneous societies like the US? For example, right,
Okay.
black on black brutality. It seems to me that in everything that we talk about, one of the things missing really, it seems to me, is love. That all across the world, and it's increasingly the case, if we truly love one another, the extent of the injustices that we are seeing will really not be existing. Because and that question, one of the reasons I like it is that in the United States, we talk about racism because it's a very heterogeneous society. We talk about racism. But we do not focus on these injustices in a place like Nigeria where everybody is Black, basically. So what do you call that? Other than the fact that love seems to be absent and also the extent of the corruption, because there are indeed laws. I have never seen any country that writes policies as well as Nigerians do. The Nigerian government, I have just been looking at the Nigerian pension system. It is probably the best written document that I have seen as far as pension policies around the world, but it's not being implemented correctly. So the elderly, which they constitute only 6% of the population of Nigeria, but they are also the poorest segment of the population. And so when it comes to this, it seems to me that we have plenty of work to do because we must realize that the imprisonment of one person, if one person is not free, we are all not free. And there will be no reason for Nigerians to build houses with fences that are so high, covering their beautiful homes. You don't even see the beauty of the homes if they were actually free in their hearts and their minds. Because if you take care of the least among us, you won't have any reason to worry that someone is going to come and is going to break into your house. But this is a discussion that we can have for a long time. And while we are discussing this, I'd like you to just sit with the next question, which I think is very important. It comes from Canada. It comes from a man who is a financial analyst, has his own financial consulting company, a very prominent, successful one in Canada, but he happens to be a Nigerian. And his question is, as a business model, would you at some point be willing to consider focusing solely on the pro bono business, the pro bono aspect of your operations? Because according to what he wrote, it was actually heartbreaking to see you, Oluyemi, shedding tears when you were talking, because that also broke my heart. And so his point is that if you focus solely on the pro bono work, which is where your passion really is, it's actually easier to get funding that will then make your work and your life easier and better. But what I can do is we can have a discussion of that later, and I'll be very happy to link you up with him. So, after this, so that you can have the discussion about what he has in mind. So thank you very much, Itunuoluwa. I really appreciate your work and your discussion. So our next presenter is Hairat Suleiman, who was born in Kwara State, Nigeria. And let me tell you, I just spoke about Itunuoluwa, and I will say to you that last night, Hairat, I was reading about you. I think it was in a newspaper or something. And they talked about how once you were in the courtroom, you were like a different person. And, but I'm happy to see you. And, you are a lawyer and also a human rights activist who graduated from Bayero University in Kano, and then also from the Nigerian Law School. Hairat demonstrates a unique and diligent perspective on human rights issues, and currently doubles as the foundation's administrative manager and counsel. She has personally secured freedom for 31 inmates in the course of her work at the Headfort Foundation. On April 9, 2020, you, Hairat, were also named by the United States State Department as a member of the prestigious Young African Leaders Initiative Network. The same passion that made you choose to leave Kaduna in northern Nigeria, where you were born and raised, continues to drive your desire to improve yourself and improve your world. I actually commend what you do. At some point, maybe not today, I'd like to hear that story, which I read about. You didn't tell me about it. It's not even in your profile. But I read about how you had to convince your parents that you needed to move out of northern Nigeria because you wanted to go to southern Nigeria to develop yourself to increase your outlook to life and also participate in this work of freeing people that were in bondage. And you are currently studying at the Institute of Corporate Secretaries and Arbitrators of Nigeria. Welcome, and now take the stand.
Thank you very much for this opportunity. I will be taking you on some of the challenges we face towards securing the release of an inmate in prison. First of all, one of our major challenges is the lack of adequate funding. And we experience this from the very first point of taking their briefs at the prison to the point where we finally secure their freedom. At the prison warders would ask us to tip them first before they can allow us time to spend with this inmate to get their briefs. And the amount of money we give them will determine the amount of time they will afford us. Most times they give us 30 minutes, and there are about 50% of the inmates that are indigent and illiterate. We need more time with them to get their stories, to understand why they've landed in prison and what it is they are being charged for. The fact that they are illiterate, they don't even know what they are being charged for. They will just tell us, I was picked up on the street. I was coming from work, I closed from work and they picked me up. So this challenge, it extends to the fact that when we now go to the courts to make sure that this information are okay, maybe it is adequate, the registrars would frustrate us and say if we are not going to tip them, they would not answer us, which is their job. It's just for you to provide us information on these inmates. But the first thing they will do is you have to give us money before we answer you, or you wait. So most times we need to wait, and we have a lot of information to gather. At times we'll have to tip them, and at times we will not give in. We'll tell them this is your job. You have to do it. You have to provide us with this information. And the fact that we do not have enough people on board, we don't have enough funding to fund our operations. So the few of us, the 5 team of lawyers, will have to take these cases on our own. And most times it's usually very tedious. We also have the challenge of misrepresentation of facts by the inmates. They are illiterate, most of them, in the prison. They don't know what they're being charged for. They don't know their rights. They don't know all the fundamental human rights they're entitled to. So at times, they will just tell you, I was fighting with somebody and they picked me up. And you ask them, what did they charge you for? Which courts did they take you to? They will just tell us any courts they want and tell us anything. So most times you have to go to the courts to get the adequate information, and this task is usually very tedious because when we finish taking their briefs at the prison, it's exhausting. So we go into the court again every day to get this fact. At times even we have to go and meet them very early in the morning before the court sits to get the correct information. We also have the challenge of trying to contact their family members. When you call their family members, the first thing they will tell you is, I don't have any family members in prison. I'll never have anybody in prison. The first thing they don't even want to hear prison. Once you say prison, they don't want to hear. To them is, I don't know anybody in prison. And then you get to court, you will not tell them that, but I was the one that called you, and they'll tell you it's because we don't have money to spend. And you explain to them that we are pro bono lawyers. We are not collecting money from you. They will tell you there are some people that's what you people say. Some of you will come and say you are not collecting money. At the end, you tell us to bring money. So they've even lost hope in humanity. They don't want to believe that we are really pro bono lawyers. We are not collecting money until we appear on their behalf and they see that these ones are really not in for the money. They're just doing it for the good cause. And also the inmates, we have the challenge of going to court and the court will not sit. And the inmates will transfer the aggression on us, thinking we have not been doing anything. Because sometimes when the court will not sit, the registrars must have called the warders. So the warders will not even bring them to court. We, the lawyers, they won't call us. We'll go to court, we'll sit down there for more than 1 hour before they inform us that the court will not sit. So we'll be there, and the inmates, they will now call our office number and be lashing out on us that they didn't bring them to court and we've not done anything about it. We understand that their living condition there is frustrating. So most times we'll calm them down, we'll tell them to calm down, and we'll explain to them that this is how the process is, this is what is going on. And do not worry, we'll try our best to get you out of the prison. So most times they will call us, at times they will even disturb us with call. They just want to hear somebody's voice because their family members, they've deserted them, they're in prison, they've forgotten them in prison. So they just want to hear somebody, that there's somebody there out there that believes them that they're not criminals. We also have the challenge of people being judgmental about these people in prison. They believe so far you've gone to the prison, you're a criminal. There's nothing more. They forgot, neglecting the fact that half of the people in prison are wrongfully incarcerated people or the victims of police brutality, and some of them, there are people that committed minor offenses like stealing a bread that is less than $1, or a dispute occurred between two traders, and one trader have money to tip the police, so the other person will fall victim. Those are our own focus at Headfort Foundation. We focus on the wrongfully incarcerated inmates and the people that committed minor offenses. We also have the challenges of lack of adequate manpower. We do not have many people on board. So most times, a lawyer may have to handle 3 matters in 3 different jurisdictions. You will go to court as early as possible. You go to one court. When you finish, at times you will not even have enough time to spend with the prisoner. You tell him, just call our office line, we'll talk to you later. So we'll have to go to, because we need to attend to another matter. At times, the other court must have risen because we're late. So this challenges has really been a problem for us at Headfort Foundation. And also, the prisoners, whenever they see us, they are happy because they know that there's someone that is representing them. So most times we go to court, they will call us and ask us for money and say that they need to feed, they've not eaten for 3 days. So we give them money. Almost every day we give them money. And when we secure their release, we give them transport fare back home, because most of them do not even know the way home. Some of them may be arrested on the way and they'll tell you they are not even in Lagos State. They're not residing in Lagos State, they're residing in Ogun State. Some will tell you they're going back to Ondo State. So most times we give them transport fare, and we even take them to the point where they secure a bus back to their destination. We don't just release them and put them on the road. We make sure that they get to somewhere. And the moment they get home, many of them will call us that they are home. And up to date, most of them are still calling us to tell us that they are doing well, they are doing fine, which is the rewards we gain from our own foundation, because we believe that our work had manifested into these people's life and it has changed their lives and they are doing something better for themselves. Thank you very much. I would like to stop here.
Right. One of the questions that you have, it's from the state of Alabama here in the United States. It says, do you have international law firms that you collaborate with?
No. No, we do not have any international law firm yet. Right. But we would love to have.
Okay. I have another question and this is for any of you. Okay. It's from here in the United States. It says, as women lawyers, how are you able to cope with the stressors of the work that you do?
Okay, I think I'll answer that question. Being a mother of a 2-year-old, and doing all of this as well, it's not easy. Seriously, my husband is supportive, but he is human at the same time. Like, he practically begs for my attention sometimes and say, please, don't go today, stay back today, right? So it's not particularly easy. And one thing with litigation in Nigeria is litigation is made difficult because there are some things, like if I'm going to court, I expect that in SENA crimes, they have a time to come to court that their matters will be heard and every party involved will already be in the courtroom. But here it is not the same. The law here is that the court sits on or before 9 a.m. But that 9 a.m. you might get to court by 8:15 and the court is here to sit by 11 a.m. You're right seated there, nothing is happening and nobody will tell you ahead that the court is not sitting so that you can at least focus on something else. So you get there and wait for the court to sit. By 11 a.m., maybe the registrar is just telling you that the court is not going to sit, then you leave. That way, you have already missed a lot of things you should have done in the morning of that day. So those are the little things, something that could have been communicated to you via a mail, or text message that don't bother coming, we are adjourning this matter to so days, but no such thing. So it is stressful. And Lagos is a peculiar state as well with traffic. Like before I got to where I am right now from my house, it's normally a 25 minutes drive, but I got here in about 1 hour, 30 minutes. Those are the kind of traffic you face. So imagine driving in that traffic all the way and you get to court, you are still unable to even achieve what you are set to achieve. So litigation is naturally stressful. And for a woman is like double the stress because you still get back home and do what you have to do as a mother and as a wife. So it's terrible.
Someone has just said, I will speak to one law firm here in the United States about you.
Thank you.
And I would like to follow you on your Facebook platform.
Thank you.
Thank you for all that you're doing.
Thank you very much.
I think the banner behind you says, what does it say? Is it police don't brutalize me?
Yes, police don't brutalize,
Police
protect me, don't brutalize me, yes.
Tell us about that.
Okay, late last year, we started the sensitization project. And we had to start that because, we get to prison and see a 17-year-old in an ideal prison, a 15-year-old in an ideal prison, because at the point of arrest, the police had inflated the age or something. And that's why, so they would not take them to the juvenile prison, but bring them to the ideal prison. And you get there, you see 20-year-old, 21-year-old, early 20s, lots of them like that in prison. And what are they doing? Most of them didn't go to school. Most of them didn't understand what human rights is all about. They don't even know what they should do. Some of them don't even know the roles of the police. Like I said, I have a 2-year-old son. And when we're going in the car, I have a cousin that always goes with me as well. And she tells my son, don't make noise, see the police. Like they normally scare you with the presence of the police, that is not the reason why we have police. So I consistently correct her, don't scare my son with the police. The police you're supposed to see the police and be happy that you're protected and not the other way around. But in Nigeria, that is the main thing. They feel that the moment you see a policeman ahead of you, you have to be careful. Right? So we set out late last year to sensitize people on the role of the police, why the police institution was created, right? To protect law and order, to protect human and properties. So that was why we made this banner. So anytime we have the approval from the Lagos State Education Board to go and sensitize senior secondary school students on this thing. So we take this banner along with us to those locations, sensitize them on the role of the police, the reality of police brutality, and we also sensitize them on the consequences of crime. So they do not even have to venture into crime at all, not to talk of landing in prison. And we give them our helpline so that should they have any issue or reason to be a victim of police brutality, they can call on us and we can be of help to them.
Right. This, I believe, is from Manchester in the United Kingdom. It says, I once worked with the National Human Rights Commission. This was many years ago. I was one of the pioneer staff in Nigeria, and my former colleagues are the top people there now. I can link you up with some of them to collaborate in the area of knowledge exchange, training, and others.
We would really appreciate that. We would really love to.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
So he has heard you, and I'll follow up with him as well
Okay,
after
thank you
this
very
to
much.
make sure that. So generally speaking, what kind of satisfaction do you get from doing this?
Okay, answer the question, I think.
Okay. The satisfaction we get from doing this is the joy we see from these people after we've released them, and then their testimony when they come back to us and tell us that we are doing well in life. Thank you. Well, if it wasn't for your intervention in my life, I would have still been in prison, or maybe if I was out and I would have still gone back into the same path. So what we are doing to them, what we're helping them, has really changed their life, and that is one satisfaction on our end.
And another thing I'd like to add to that is there was a guy we helped out. He bought stolen goods. He bought stolen goods in Onitsha. Onitsha, that's Anambra State, Nigeria. And it was, they got him and he was charged here in Lagos, was charged to court here in Lagos and remanded in Ikoyi prison. We represented him. He stayed in prison for 1 year, 1 full year, right? And we got him out, I think that was first or second week of March this year. That was shortly before the lockdown. And every day he calls me and say, if not for you, if not for you, there is no how I will still not be in prison now. And if you are in prison right now, it's I don't even know how to describe it, because nobody is allowed to go to prison because of coronavirus. No court is sitting because of coronavirus. Nothing is going on in the justice system because of coronavirus. So if you are in prison right now, it's like lost of hope. There is just no way out. So the guy keeps calling like every other day to remind me and tell me and thank us for what we have done in his life. So those are the kind of things that keep you going, like, okay, this person is appreciative of what we've done, and he understands the value. And some of them will say, I would love to do this, help you in your work. Like, if I have money, I don't mind. I would like to help your organization so that you can reach out to more people. We have heard a lot of them say, and our prayer for them is that at the end of the day, they do well in life so that they can also give back to the organization.
All right, I have received a word from, it's called the Oracle of Peace Foundation that has an office in Nigeria as well. They would like to know, it's an NGO, and they would like to know how an NGO in Nigeria can collaborate with you to help the prisoners.
Okay, to collaborate with us, we are always open, and we want to collaborate. I don't know what they do basically, but we have 4 phases to our work, which is the first thing is sensitization of the public. So, and the next segment is the legal aid. That is where we represent we represent people for free. And the third one is empowerment of ex-inmates. So we support ex-inmates as well to help them do well in life. Then the last part is advocacy. We are hoping that when we talk and the authority hear our voice, they can implement some of our laws. They can review some of our laws. Some of them needs to be repealed, as a matter of fact, because when you get to the process of justice in Nigeria, first of all, it's too long, and I'm particular more about bail here. Because when you're granted bail, it's more or less like you're buying your freedom. It is so hard to perfect bail in Nigeria for whatever offense you have committed. Imagine for someone that have committed an offense that the punishment is about 6 months in prison, for instance, and you are giving a bail condition for 2 people to stand for him as surety, and one of them must be a level 15 civil servant officer, and this person has no educated person in his life. How are we able to perfect their bail? So those are the aspect of law I personally and as an organization ourselves want to review on. And before that can be done, we need our voice to be louder. And for our voice to be louder, we need to collaborate with other organizations. So on any of these 4 segments of our activity, we want people to come on board us.
Great, and this question is going to go to you, Itunuoluwa. The question is, how has this work strengthened you or challenged you personally?
Okay, it has really strengthened me in the sense that I go home every day knowing that we are not breeding criminals. Because if you look at our prison system, that place is a terrible place. So when you have the opportunity of getting someone out, it gives you so much joy. Me personally, I knowing that I'm coming back to the office to give you the good news that, oh, the person I went to represent has been released. It gives me so much joy because I feel the longer they stay there, the more negative influence they get from those that are hardened criminals. They don't separate them. There is no segregation between a minor offender or a condemned criminal. There is no separation between someone who stole something worth 20 naira, 30 naira, and someone who actually committed armed robbery of 4 million, 5 million. There's no separation. So when you stay too long in that place, you get to learn what you are not supposed to learn. So getting them out as soon as possible makes me feel that, oh, we are helping people not to become criminals. So it gives me so much joy and helps me want to keep doing this more and more. And the challenges we are facing is the fact that we are not able to do as much as we want to do. We have projects that we have outlined, we come up with ideas, it's like you have aspirations and you are just limited by so many challenges. You can't just do them. You have this thing you want to do and you can't just do them. So it's challenges me personally, and as an organization it really affects us because we are looking towards expansion. We want to expand. We don't want to limit it to Lagos alone. We don't even want to limit it to just one or two prisons alone. We want to be able to reach as many people as possible. Thank you.
Right. So I have another question, which says, two questions that are similar. What are you doing about sensitization of members of the criminal justice system to help them understand how difficult a problem this is? Combine that with a question that I also have, asking, are you doing anything to train police officers on good conduct?
Okay, we are not. We've not gotten to the point where we are able to sensitize people in the criminal justice system. But we don't mind, and we are hoping that we will get to that point. But for now, we are still focusing on the inmates and also people in the society, people that we feel actually need to understand this, because people in the justice system they are in the system, they should know better, and they also go for trainings, they go for conferences, they have opportunities to learn. There are lots of people out here who don't have this opportunity, and that is why we focus on the ex-inmates and the society at large.
So another question is the establishment of diversion courts in Nigeria, so that instead of sending people to prison, they go to programs that will help them so that recidivism is sort of prevented to the highest extent possible. Is there something that you can do to push the government to establish diversion courts, or are there already diversion courts? Because if there were, then it must not be effective if people are being sent to jail and are spending years in jail, even before their trial.
Okay, the way our justice system is, once you are arraigned in court, you will be granted bail. And if you're unable to perfect that bail that particular day, which is usually the case, because even if you have the money and you have sureties, it takes longer than that. So you definitely get to that prison custody. So now the good thing is either you get out as soon as possible if you're able to perfect your bail or not. So we are really hoping that we can, if we are able to collaborate with other organizations, partner with people, and we'll be a formidable force. We'll be able to talk to people in the authority to review, like you said, the advocacy, to review most of these things so that we'll be able to make changes. It is in rare cases where you will see a judge give community service. Sometimes the only situation where they will give community service is when we bring up when we make application for the matter to be struck off. So now for someone that has spent a year for probably a traffic offense, not having a driver's license, and the person ends up in prison. After spending a year, you are pleading with a judge to release this person. And then after much pleading and all that, and the judge feels, okay, let me consider your application. Some judges will still had community service. They may give you like 4 hours, 8 hours community service, just for you to understand that I'm not doing this willingly. I'm not really ready to leave this person, but because of the so much passion and the fact that you have pleaded so much, that's why I'm just letting this person go. So that is the only time where when we see judges giving community service. But usually, based on our justice system, we don't, community service doesn't come up first. You have to go to prison first. They have to go through the long process of trial.
I have a question, another one. The Administration of Criminal Justice Act 2015 was passed to reform and significantly improve criminal justice system in Nigeria. Years after, could you speak to the effectiveness of this law, particularly in the areas of early trial and treatment of offenders or even prisoners?
Okay, on that, the way Nigeria, we practice federalism in Nigeria. So when you pass a law when the federal government passes a law, every state in Nigeria must domicilize that law before it takes effect in the states. So as it is, that act, I know of Lagos State, even before the pronouncement of that act, Lagos State had passed the law, Administration of Criminal Justice law into law. So it's already helping. But for other states, it's not the same. Every other state must first go through the process of domiciliazing the law before that particular act can be functioning in those states. So as it is, Administration of Criminal Justice Act is only applicable in the Federal High Court around Nigeria and in Abuja alone. That being said, in other states of Nigeria, the one thing that is very significant in that law is that you can no longer appeal what do we call it? Sorry, I'm looking for the legal term now. Something appeal. I'll get to that when I interlocutory appeal. Thank you, interlocutory appeal. So you can no longer do that. Before, what we do is when you charge somebody to court, a lawyer can say that court does not have jurisdiction. The court will rule over it. You appeal the ruling of court over the jurisdiction to the Court of Appeal and then to the Supreme Court. If the Supreme Court now gives a verdict that court has jurisdiction, then you come back and start the matter all over. Now, the period of appealing the jurisdiction of the court's ruling might take you 5 years before you then come back to the substantive suit. But as it is now, that law, that is Administration of Criminal Justice Act, has abolished that you cannot appeal interlocutorily. You must first deal with the main case, get judgment, and if you want to appeal, you can then appeal all together. So that is one thing, one significant thing about that law. Aside that, every other thing about that law is not helping anything. Because if you say that the trial should be done in time, and there are a lot of things hanging over, and nobody is talking about it, then it's a lot of issue. So if I'm to rate it, that law, I'll say it's 2/3 when it comes 2/10 when it comes to implementation.
Right. I hope you're aware that people are also watching this on Facebook. Yeah. Because it's being live streamed on Facebook. The International Training Center for Applied Behavior Analysis is telling me that they are willing to collaborate with you.
Thank you.
What I am going to do is that for all of the pledges that we are receiving for collaboration and support in any form, I will do my best to actually put them all together after this. Okay. And I also just want to ask you what should probably be one of our last few questions. When you go to bed at night, how satisfied are you? with how your day went? Or do you go to bed still wishing that you could have done more?
I think that question is for all of us.
Yeah.
Okay, let me go first. I'd say, someday you go to bed fulfilled, and I'm able to put smile on somebody's face. I'm able to put smile to a family that has long hope that one day their husband, their mother, their father is going to get out of prison. So when you finally get that person out, or you're able to even at least give them hope that don't worry, on certain day, this man will be out by God's grace. When you go to bed with that, you're fulfilled. On some other days, you're disappointed, right? Because of the justice system, because of the system fighting back, because of corruption, because of a lot of things going on in the system that you're unable to personally and individually break. And last night, I felt so, because of the story I shared, I felt so bad because I thought maybe if I'd gone to the court where we submitted the letter, maybe if I'd gone personally and shouted at them, and scream at them, maybe they would have acted. Maybe I didn't do enough. Maybe if I'd done something radical, maybe they would have listened and do the needful. Maybe that guy would have survived, So I blamed myself for a lot of things, but I have a good support team that keeps saying you did enough, you did well, you did all you could, So I think it's just not a static thing; it's dynamic. Someday you're happy, the other day you're not, and you're hoping that you can do better.
Indeed, indeed. So there are many people writing to tell me that they believe you need support, and here is the GoFundMe site that I set up for you last night. And everyone, I will be sending you this link after this show. I will look forward to having all of the people here and my friends outside of here and family contribute toward this fund. And as I said, I made sure that I was the first to donate so that I will be asking everyone else to do that. But I do have one question right now. Why is it that it's all women doing this work?
I think we get this question every other day. Well, you see, the way Nigeria operates, like, it's easier. When we started, it's not, we've had a guy, a male lawyer amongst us before, but this work is not a work you start and get and be a millionaire tomorrow. So most men, maybe they have a lot of responsibility, I don't know, but I believe that most men are not, here in Nigeria, I can speak for, most men are interested when there is money, when there's something about it. And if there's no money, nobody you call them, they give you one story or the other. So the last recruitment we did, we were hoping to get a guy on board, and all the men we interviewed were not interested in the money we offered. So because it's not a cool cash, nobody is interested to be here, right? But for women, I think we are naturally compassionate in nature, and a woman would put all they can. At least they would even want to start small, hoping that it gets bigger someday, right? So that's why it's always been women all along. We didn't plan it like that, but the system made it that way. so that's why we have all women, and there are women that I don't even say women because they are good intellectually and they have strength. They can fight when the time comes to fight. So it's like we are blessed at the end of the day.
Right, and another question that's related, it's actually the other side of the coin. Are most of the inmates male?
No, we have female prison. It's at Kirikiri, and that's here in Lagos. We have 5 prisons in Lagos, and one of them is for female. But because of proximity, which also relates to funding, we most of the time go to Ikoyi prison. Ikoyi is closer to us. Our office is at the Lagos Island area of Lagos State, and Ikoyi is like 10 minutes. Ikoyi prison is like 10 minutes drive away. But if we are going to other prisons, we have to plan a lot of things financially, and when it comes to proximity, traffic and all that. And all the prisons are over like 250% congested, 250% by the last statistic, right? So we focus mainly on Ikoyi because it's closer to us, while we have the hope of reaching others because we get cases outside, like on our social media platforms. People send us cases. When this Al Jazeera thing also came out, people contacted us through all our social media platforms saying that they have one person or the other in Kirikiri. So the way it is looking is like after coronavirus, we have a lot of work to do in Kirikiri.
So, I like to say this, that it's been my great pleasure to have you here today. One of the things that I have been reminded of in this conversation is the fact that none of us is truly free until we are free. When I spoke to you, I told you that it was my feeling that that you are actually doing God's work. I believe that from the bottom of my heart. I'd like to thank you. I know that if you were men here today, we will be saying things like behind every successful man is a woman, which very often is true. But I also know that when I see women doing what you're doing, I always ask myself, who is supporting them? Because this is really, really great work that you're doing. And it is work that brings a lot of stresses, which is one of the reasons why I really appreciate all of the questions that you have had today. My suggestion to you will be that you take great care of yourselves as you do this. You get some rest. Just know that the work you're doing is great. And every day, please go to bed satisfied, knowing that you have done even more than a lot of people. I just really also want to thank you very much for coming today and to thank the guests. And I will today, well, everyone has been a guest, but I actually also talk about the participants. You have done a great job and you continue to do that. And here is my pledge to you that I will make sure that my friends and I, family, everybody who's been here today and those who haven't been here, will do our best to support the work that you do.
Thank you.
Thank God for technology. We are only just a phone call or an email away. And I wish you all the best. I also want to thank our participants today for taking your day off to come. Today happens to be Independence Day in the United States. And when we talk about independence, we're talking about freedom. I think that today we should all leave here knowing that we're really, truly not free when so many people are in bondage around the world. And because of that, we need to do our best to support everyone. And I'd like to thank you. And for anyone who wishes to have a conversation with the Headfort Foundation outside of this, please do not log off. I will have you, if you don't mind, Oluyemi, Itunuoluwa, and Hairat, if you don't mind, please stay on. And I will make sure that everyone who wants to have a conversation outside of this also can have a conversation with you. I thank everyone and I wish you a tremendous day. God bless.